take a moment to calm down, to release whatever we just left behind. So, if you would care to join me, you can put your feet flat on the floor. You can lower your gaze or close your eyes. We're going to take 4 deep breaths together. I'll count our first, and you'll take your next 3 on your own time. All right? Let's breathe in. 2, 3, 4, and out. 2, 3. Thank you.
Forget the mic for now. I can project. First, I'd like to say thank you all for coming. Wow, this is a wonderful group in bad weather. Vermonters, don't mess around. You guys are great. My name is Phoenix Crockett, and I am the managing director of Me2 Burlington. For the past 14 years, this group has gathered together each week in our stigma-free zone to make beautiful classical music together. I, myself, was with the group, very many years ago. When I was younger, it was very special to me, playing as a cellist and being with this group of people who really value patience and kindness above all else. Around half of our musicians in any of our groups, here, Boston, Manchester, live with diagnosed mental illnesses, and it affects them in a variety of ways. And our whole group comes together in an intentional community to make music, setting that aside in a place that is inclusive, truly. We have no auditions, and that's special for groups that play at the level that we do. Another thing that's special about our group is we have no fee. You may just walk in the door. People have attended our shows before and then come to the next rehearsal and we said, have a seat, of course. It does help if you play an instrument. But it's not always been the case. We have no auditions, we have no fees, we have no stigma. One group I would like to thank is a sponsor we have right now, the Rotary Club of Burlington, some of who are here. The Rotary Club is a global network of professionals and community leaders who get together to really try to tackle humanitarian crises abroad and locally. A quick housekeeping note. I left Aaron Graham in the clarinet section off of our program. And for that, everyone should point and jeer and shame me. She's wonderful. Yes, thank you. You'll hear from me a little bit more later in the show. You'll see some of our traditions as we go. I'd like to ask just quickly, is it anyone's first time with us? Wow. So you're facing me, so see the people that raise their hands. It was a lot, it was cool. That's a cool thing, right? That's beautiful. I really do appreciate it. Without further ado, there's a whole music thing that we do too, aside from when I talk. So I would like to introduce Michael Colburn.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this wintry Veterans Day. As you might expect, with a concert on this date, we are going to pay tribute to our veterans. It's going to happen a little bit later in the program. But the whole program is really a tribute to our country with a twist. And that is, for 3 of the 4 selections, the selections of American music that are on this program, they weren't actually composed by American composers. They were composed by composers from other countries who were inspired by some aspect of American culture. The first example of this is from the pen of Samuel Coleridge-Taylor, a black British composer active in the late 19th and early 20th century. And the source of his inspiration was the epic poem by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, The Song of Hiawatha. Coleridge-Taylor was so inspired by this poem that he wrote a work called The Wedding Feast of Hiawatha, which was premiered in 1898. It was a cantata, and it was such a success that he would go on to create 2 more cantatas inspired by the Song of Hiawatha, and a number of other compositions, including a suite of ballet music that you're about to hear. We're going to play the 4th and 5th movements of the ballet music from Coleridge-Taylor's Song of Hiawatha. So I think we're working without a microphone, so I'll summon my inner band director voice, and hopefully it'll make it to the back row. So we started with the music of a British composer who was paying tribute to America. We're now going to move to the music of an Australian-American composer named Percy Aldridge Grainger. Grainger was indeed born in Australia in 1886, I believe. Lived there until he was 13 and then moved to Europe to study. And then moved on to England, where he lived 1898 to 1914, where he was actually trying to launch a career as a solo pianist. Grainger was actually much better known during his lifetime for his work as a solo piano player than as a composer. But it was while he was in England that he became really fascinated with folk song, and of course British folk song. Grainger was one of the first folk song collectors to record these songs out in the countryside. He would lug this huge Edison phonograph on his back out into the countryside so he could record these folk singers, so he could capture every little detail and nuance of the way that they performed their folk songs. So Grainger lived in England until 1914, and with World War I, he decided that it was a good time to leave Europe. He just wanted to avoid that conflict. So he moved to America, only to find out in 1917 that America was indeed going to become involved in that World War I conflict. So Grainger, who was not yet even a naturalized citizen, enlisted in the U.S. Army as a bandsman, served from 1917 until 1919 in an Army band that was stationed near New York City. So here on Veterans Day, it's a chance for us to pay tribute to Percy Grainger for his time in the United States Armed Forces. So, as I mentioned, Grainger loved British folk music, but there's only one setting of an American folk tune that he ever did, and you're about to hear it. It's an old Appalachian fiddling tune called Spoon River. We hope you enjoy this work by Percy Grainger. So now it is indeed time to pay tribute to our veterans. We're the only piece on this program that is by an American composer, and that composer's name is Michael Kamen. And this is a work that he wrote for the HBO miniseries entitled Band of Brothers, about the famous 101st Airborne Division of the U.S. Army that fought so valiantly in World War II. It is music that is a perfect fit for this miniseries. I don't know how many of you have seen the show, but I highly recommend it. It's so beautifully done. And the music supports the nobility and the bravery of these incredible troops. Before we play this selection, I do want to take a moment to, again, recognize our veterans. As a veteran myself, it always does my heart good to see how much our country appreciates the valor and sacrifice of those who have served in the armed forces. So I'd like to ask for, if there's anyone in the audience or that has served or has a family member that has served in our U.S. Armed Forces, would you please now stand so we can thank you and recognize your service to our country? Any vets out there? There we go. So much. Now this is Michael Kamen's Sweet Band of Brothers.
attempt to fix the microphone. I made it worse. Our sound guy is snowed in, so we're going to keep doing it this way. But we would like to talk to you for a little while. As we typically do in the middle of our programs, we like to say a few things here and there. You're going to hear 3 voices over the next few minutes or so. The first is following in our long tradition of hearing from a member of our group. We like to, amplify the lived experience and all the wonderful people that join us each week and what they have to say about things. So you're going to hear from Alex in our cello section. Next, you'll hear from our executive director and the mastermind of all of this, Caroline, who is standing over there. Everybody look at her, make her uncomfortable. And then your favorite part, I'll come back on stage, and we'll do a Q&A, which is where I will ask all of you, what are you wondering about with this? Any questions at all are fine. We've heard many things over the years. I will attempt to answer them, so be thinking about what your question is as we move forward. First, Alex.
Hi everybody, thanks so much for coming, and I appreciate you all for braving the weather to get here. It was harrowing for me. I'm a cellist with the Me2 Orchestra. I started my journey probably a little over a decade ago. I saw a flyer at my therapist's office. I was living in a sober house at the time, potentially facing serious jail time. I was not in a good place then, but I've come a long way since. Since then, I came out as non-binary and transgendered. I moved out of the sober house. I bought a home, and am doing so much better now. But that's not to say that the journey here hasn't been easy as well. During that time, I've slipped and had severe depression from time to time. Black Lives Matter was difficult for me. COVID was difficult for me. Trump 1.0 and 2.0 has been difficult and trying. And now we're slipping into what seems like a fascist state, and that has been extremely overwhelming. And about 3 weeks ago, my mind started to slip again, and I found myself in a place of suicidal ideation, which was very serious for me, and I haven't had it in quite some time. I reached out, and thankfully so many people in this group reached out for me and kept me going when I was not feeling great. And it is such a gift to have this group in my life. I don't know if I would be alive without it, I can honestly say that. And I am doing much better now. Luckily, that period of suicidal ideation only lasted a few days, and I'm doing much better now. But I'm so thankful I had this group for being here and being in support of me. So then again, thank you all so much for being here. I'll leave you with 4 words. The show must go on. It always does. And I really hope you enjoy the new one. Thank you.
Thanks to Alex for that. My name is Caroline Whidden. I'm the executive director and co-founder of Me2. My husband and I started this organization 14 years ago here in Burlington, Vermont. We are now, the headquarters for the organization is now in Boston. I drove up today because I love any opportunity to hit some black ice on the highway and great music, so win-win, twofer. I had a whole thing planned, and Alex kind of threw me because that was so beautiful. And I guess I just want to say how grateful I am that all of these people work together every week to create a stigma-free zone. It's a rare place to find, right? And in the world today, a place where you really, truly feel safe and supported. And in case you didn't know it, orchestras are not always those places. They can be a little rare. So we try to not do that in these spaces, and the movement has grown. We are now in 3 different New England states with orchestras, choruses, a flute choir, and it's a pretty blissful way to be. So I guess I feel tonight that all of you have joined us in this stigma-free zone. I feel great energy, and I appreciate the fact that you're here to support your people, your friends, your loved ones who may be living with a diagnosis. I myself have depression and anxiety. It's great to be in a room where I feel like I can just say that, and that's okay. So thank you for participating in the stigma-free zone. I also want to do a huge thanks to the Burlington Rotary Club. If you look at all of this, this is a lot to put on. And the group rehearses every week with our extraordinary staff, Michael Colburn, Phoenix, they're there every week, rehearsing, we buy music, we buy insurance, you get where I'm going, it's expensive. So to have the Burlington Rotary Club, someone actually came to one of our concerts, one of their members, and said, wow, we want to be your partner in this. Well, are the Rotary Club members here today? Would you raise your hands? Yes! It means a great deal to us to have that partnership, and I know Phoenix went and spoke to the group recently, so we hope that's something we can continue. Thank you to all of you who contributed at the door. Me2 is like so many nonprofits right now, they're struggling, but we're committed to trying to keep the programs alive and going. There is a QR code on the back of your program book if you'd like to do something later, or even during the Dvořák. I won't tell mine. He knows. Seriously, thanks for being here. Thanks for loving the people on stage, and I hope you enjoy Dvořák's New World, Final Movement. Thank you.
I'm back. So what is this group? What do we do? What's the whole thing about? How tall am I? Surely you have questions. And I would like to attempt to answer them now. Yes, ma'am.
I have a 2-part question.
Please.
The first part is how many people on stage are having their first concert with the group tonight?
Okay.
And the second part is how many people were on stage were here for the very first Me2 concert?
First question, first concert. First concert. For about 10 plus years. Who else? Yes, ma'am.
How tall are you?
6'1" in these shoes.
I'm going to break the rules, Colonel. I would like you to consider to do an encore at the end of your concerts. Since yesterday was the 250th anniversary of the United States Marine Corps, of which Colonel Colburn was a member for many years, so you might consider doing the Marine Corps hymn as an encore to some of your concerts, especially on Veterans Day.
Mike's favorite now. Other folks. Yes, sir.
Tell us about the chorus if you have one.
Yes, please. The chorus has thrived in our Boston group for a long time. One thing that's wonderful about choruses is you don't have to play an instrument. Many people think, well, I don't sing or I can't sing, and that's because they don't know any better.
Is that you? You don't.
Maybe the Jose, sorry.
Oh.
Absolutely everyone can and and should and will. We attempted a launch this season of a chorus. We didn't have enough engagement to continue with the group. We're going to attempt another launch at a time to be announced on our social media and website and things like that. And if there are people in the room who are interested, please use my contact information, which is either in your pamphlet or in your ears when you come ask me for it. And I will give you all the information, make sure you're on the list as we continue to do that. Other people.
I have two wonderful children and I play in this orchestra.
You do? Great. I have 0 children that play in this orchestra, but that's because the diapers would get difficult throughout this process. Yes.
How many concerts like this do you do?
We do 3 concerts a year. Yeah, so we have other ones coming up. Let's see if I can get these dates right off the top of my head. March 17th is our next show, right? Yes. Awesome. When's the other one? May 19th. May 19th is another one. The March 17th show will be right here in this room. Mark your calendars. We'll make it fun for St. Patrick's. We'll do a little something for it. And the May show will be in Virgins. And I'll give more information about that as it gets to be a little bit closer. But we're trying to play a little more other places.
And Phoenix, isn't the next program is also maybe being repeated at the venue across the street here? Are we hoping to be
The next one?
in the rehab?
Yes. Yeah, isn't that great? So what Caroline's alluding to, something that you've heard about if you've been with our groups many times and you've come and you've heard me blah, 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 is that we don't always just put on shows for public audiences. We have found ourselves in a variety of places. The airport, that one was fun, correctional facilities, and other health facilities. And there's one that's rather close to here that we have played in before and which we will also be playing in again. And we really think that it's special to be able to bring our music to a variety of spaces to honor our devotion to inclusivity. Thank you for the prompt. Yes, sir.
Just one more question.
Please.
What's the range of fees that you encounter renting like Ellie Long facility or other places you played at?
I'm going through the contracts in my mind and wondering if I'm allowed to
Well,
share
yeah, if you
that.
can't say, that's fine. I understand.
No, I mean anywhere from, like $1,000 up to, we rented Boston Symphony Hall once.
Wow.
So that was several $1,000.
Outside of employee labor, this cost about $1,800 to put on total.
Okay. Not bad.
Great, cool. Well, thank you all very much. And once again, really thank you for coming. It's really great that you guys are here tonight with us. We really value our audiences. Part of our entire project is to get as many people in a room together, holding intentional space and making great music. They're going to go play some music. And while they do that, I'm going to go resalt out there because it's still slippery. And then I'll run back in and we'll continue and we'll close the show. One quick note, for those of you who are feeling able-bodied and helpful, is all of this set up and the things that you see are me. So, always the orchestra is extremely helpful, and I mean, I couldn't do anything that I do without all of their volunteer work. But also, if you would like to stack your own chair at the end, they go in stacks of 5 in the back of the room, and that sure would help us a lot. Yes? Who provides the percussion equipment? So, when we were at Ellie Long provides percussion equipment, except for the bass drum. I brought that in the van today. When we are other places, it is me and a Kia Sedona and our instruments that we've had for many years. If anyone has any solutions to that, that would be great. Yeah, thank you. Yes, yes. So, very well. Thank you very much. Play more music.
So we're going to wrap up our unconventional program of American music by non-American composers with perhaps the best example, the best known example, and that is music from Antonin Dvořák's New World Symphony. Dvořák, of course, was a Czech composer, very well known for using the folk music and influences of his own culture in so much of his music. And he was one of the most famous and popular composers of his day. So famous, in fact, that he was invited to come to America in 1892 by a benefactor who wanted Dvořák to come and serve as the director of the National Conservatory of Music, which no longer exists under that name, in New York City. And so Dvořák came and spent 3 years here, 1892 to 1895, serving as a director, but also absorbing a lot of American culture and working with American composers who back in those days were still very much under the sway of the European influences. And Dvořák tried to convince them that they had all sorts of natural resources available to them that they were not taking advantage of. Basically, the African-American and Native American cultures within our country. And so, in addition to encouraging them to take advantage of these influences, he decided to use them himself, as he did so memorably in his American String Quartet and in this work that you're about to hear, his New World Symphony. We're going to play the finale from the symphony, and again, I want to thank you so much for coming out here on Veterans Day to support Me2, and we hope that you've enjoyed this program. We're going to do a quick retuning, and then Dvořák's the finale from the New World.
Thank you.